we are going to make a figure in the so-called ACS figure format. What this means is that we're going to be generating figures that look like the figures that we made in summers past and that you probably make in your classes, only we'll be using Arial and Helvetica font because for whatever reason, that's the font that ACS Journals have settled on. So this is the graph that's automatically generated through Excel. You can highlight the data and then insert a scatterplot. You do that over here. Or if you just insert a blank scatterplot, you can select your data and then manually insert your series. That's how I generated this one. So the graph that it gives you doesn't look very good. And our job for the rest of this video is to make this look a lot more presentable. What I'm going to be showing you are the way that I generate the figures for a PowerPoint presentation. Although when you make them for a paper or one of your write-ups, you're going to be making them a bit smaller. This is a lot better for Word. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete the title because it's mostly blank space. Now I mentioned that the PowerPoint is going to be a bit bigger, so if you say you right-click here and go to Format Chart Area, or just simply double-click some of the chart area here, you get this little editing box, and we can edit the size. So I'm going to do that, and the size is 3 by 5. We're going to make this a square. This will be a 4 by 4 square. Most of my figures and presentations are either 4 by 4 or 5 by 5. I find those to be the easiest to read. If you're writing it into a paper, or if you're inserting a figure into a paper, I make them 3 by 3. All right, so we are also going to get rid of these grid lines because they look terrible and they don't really add much. And then we're going to format the chart area one more time to eliminate our border line. Right now it's automatic, it's almost white, 0.75 font, so we'll just tell it no line. It would show up a lot more obviously in a PowerPoint, especially if you have a white background. So next we're going to add the chart elements. So if you click on the chart area, you'll notice this chart tools tab appear at the top. And so if we go to add chart element, we can add our horizontal axes, our primary vertical axes. I'm also going to throw the legend in there. You don't always want the legend. I'm just going to show you where it is just in case. So I'll throw that over here and then resize the plot area to cover most of the rest. Now this eliminates the need for you to go through quick templating, or I believe the quick layout for your figures. It gives you a bit more customization with it. So we're going to start by labeling our axes. First we'll start with temperature. And then I'm going to insert the rate data, or rate. I'm going to insert the symbol for rate, which is going to be the Greek letter nu. It looks like a V, especially in Arial, which is what I have selected. So we'll scroll down the Greek lettering. That's our nu. All right, so now I got these labeled, but they don't look very clear. In fact, this should probably be black. So we always bold the title, and we'll switch the font from the automatic Calibri into Arial. So I'll go grab that here. And then I'm going to put the font size to 14. And then change the font color to black instead of this weird ashen gray that for some reason PowerPoint thinks we want. And then we're going to do the same thing. If you click on the axes, we can change their fonts. And you'll notice that they'll start to overlap with the title. We could fix that now, but it's not worth it because you're going to have to go back and fix it again in a few minutes. So we'll just leave it as is. So I like to have the axes title bold and the axes themselves not bold. So now let's fix some of this dead space area. We've got a lot of dead space here, here, and up here. So almost half of this graph is just dead space. I've already gone through and figured out what the bounds of my axis should be. You're going to have to go through and find out what you think looks best for your data. And I am typing in the wrong axes for these. Go 45, and then I'll go to 45, and then 80. Okay, now Excel likes us. And major and minor units of 5 and 2.5. So regardless of what you do, you can go down here and grab the tick marks. I put both minor and major tick marks on the outside. They're barely visible, so we can go to the line editing, and I'll set this to 1 point. Now we got our first side of that graph done. We'll cover this side. This is where the decimals are going to go. Yep, 0.075. All right, looking good. We'll put both the outside tick marks back in. And then once again, change the line from the weird ashen gray into black. Okay, so now we're looking a lot better. In fact, our data is covering up a majority of the space that we see. And now we can actually readjust the data and the title so that it looks most aesthetically pleasing and best represents the points that we're trying to make. We don't want people focusing on the wrong information. So I'll go ahead here and also edit the legend. If you want a legend, that would be how you do it. And now the last thing we're left with is the data itself. I'm just going to extend that a little bit more. So with the data itself, what they have right now is a little bit small for a PowerPoint presentation, so I like to increase the marker size. You can, especially if you have a bunch of different markers on here, you can change the ones that are being represented, especially the colors. Excel puts some really weird colors in there, especially ones that people cannot see. So if you double-click your data and go over to this marker tab, we go to marker options and click built-in. This allows us to change it. So I'm going to change this to a triangle. 6 point is what I prefer using for a paper, and 8 point is what I prefer using for a presentation. And you can change the fill colors. Just beware that you're not accidentally washing out your entire symbol. We're going to do a solid fill, and I'm going to make this red. And then for the border, make that the same color, and I like to make this a little more bold. And there we go, looking good. So at this point, we can connect a line with our rate data. So I could say line, solid line, and it gives me the line. And then if you go to dash type or compound type, you can change what's represented. You can have it be a little dashed line, you can have it be solid. This is a little more compounded, or some weird intervals that they have offered. But I'm not going to do that with this one. Let's say that this is rate data. I wanted to fit it to a linear trend line. So we'll say none, and we'll add a trend line. So I'm going to display in our squared on here just for funsies. And then I'm going to go to the line itself. Right now this came in the weird blue color, so we're just going to announce it as a solid line. Red, 1.5. Looks great. I don't like the small dashes on here, so I'll make that a little bit larger. A little bit closer together. That's looking fine. So if you're using a legend and you put in a trend line, something like this will happen. So if you extend the legend box such that all of the text fits on one line, not multiple, you're able to close the distance up here and then hide this wherever you want. And then for an R squared value, I like to have this the same color, but you are going to have to adjust the font so that it matches the data that you're presenting. That's at 16. There we go. Now we're looking good. So from this point, if you want to insert any more text boxes, you can put it in and group them together. If you wanted to copy and paste this into either Word or PowerPoint, I don't recommend just copying and pasting, such as say copy and then paste it over somewhere. It's fine when it's all in the same document, but then when you start mixing and matching documents, the links get all mixed up. Sometimes it causes PowerPoint to crash. It can cause problems in Word, especially if you're moving parameters around in place. So a way that you could avoid that is copying and pasting it as an image. So I like to copy, and then wherever I want to paste it, this is in all of Office, you can go to Paste Special. and then click the Enhanced Meta file. And this gives us the representation of what we will see on the PowerPoint presentation itself. So at this point, you can then put it into PowerPoint or your paper and then see if it looks the way that you want it to look, and go from there.